Muyiwa, still bearish sentiment all the way around. It doesn't seem to be lifting ahead of Christmas.
Hi, Lerato. Yes, it's bear sentiment all the way, and the market has been quite, should I say, quite flat. But I would say the interesting point was with the brewery sector. We saw some heavy trades in the brewery sector today. About 1.9 billion naira worth of international breweries was sold, and we also saw about 500 million naira worth of Nigerian breweries sold as well. So even though the market performance was weak, but we saw strong activity from the brewery sector today, and
right.
I'd say that was what I would say was key in the market today. But overall, I'd say if we back out those heavy trades, we would say that the average turnover was weak today relative to the previous days of the week. We'd say it was down to about maybe 900 million units compared to 1.5 that we've seen as an average over the last month or so. So I would say the market, like you said, it's been quite weak, and sentiment are still quite down, and I think there's very little hope for a lift before Christmas at this point in time.
Okay, a counter that is arousing some interest, if it's still going to be a counter, is EcoBank. They've made the announcement, EcoBank Nigeria at least, that they're planning to delist, and that's to pave the way for a merger with Oceanic and the parent company to come in.
Yes, Lerato, and what I would say is that it's still part of the process of the current acquisition of Oceanic Bank and its plan to increase dominance in the Nigerian market. So what we're seeing now is the, shall I say, the next phase really in the acquisition process, and what, like you highlighted, Oceanic Bank is would be merged with EcoBank Nigeria, and I think the plan right now would be to delist EcoBank Nigeria, because what would happen is the ownership of ETI would increase from about 85% to over 90%, and that would reduce free float for minority shareholders. And so in light of the SEC regulations, ETI has decided to delist EcoBank Nigeria and offer ETI shares to existing members of EcoBank Nigeria. So EcoBank Nigeria shareholders would be offered 1 share of ETI for every 5.1 shares of EcoBank Nigeria. So it would also give them an opportunity to also benefit from the Oceanic Bank transaction as well. So I'd say overall, I'd say it will still be positive for EcoBank Nigeria shareholders, because it also increases liquidity. Because if you compare liquidity of EcoBank Nigeria to that of ETI, EcoBank Nigeria's liquidity is relatively weak and lower than that of ETI, and also it gives it a platform to trade in other markets as well, because currently ETI is listed in Nigeria, the BMVR market, and also in Ghana, so you have the option to trade over those 3 markets.
Obviously, investors do agree with you, because the stock today did gain 4.4%, especially on the back of what you're saying on liquidity. But let's talk about EcoBank and why it's done so well in countries like Togo, countries like Ghana, but really struggled to get a foothold in Nigeria. This merger, when it eventually happens, will boost their profile. But what have the challenges been here?
I would say in Nigeria, EcoBank Nigeria has had significant problems. I think one of the major issues has been asset quality. Asset quality has been significantly weak, and even before the CBN, the special audit, EcoBank Nigeria has been struggling with huge loan loss provisions and very weak asset quality. And as at the end of 2009, NPL ratio was as high as 40%, while our coverage average at that point was still at about 15%. So it's been struggling with very weak asset quality, and so it's clear that it will need to revamp its risk management process and boost up its risk criteria. And so we think that that's a major challenge for the bank. And so far, there's been a significant improvement in asset quality for EcoBank Nigeria, and that's really been driven by the sale of loans to AMCON, and that's improved its asset quality. NPL ratios is now down to single digits. It's at 9% right now. But like you said, the merger with Oceanic Bank would be a boost to its balance sheet. It would improve its funding base as well, reduce funding costs, and help it to compete efficiently in the market. And so at that point, it will be able to compete well in the corporate space with the likes of First Bank, Zenith, and even GT Bank as well.